After we filled in our subjects, now we'll need to come in and find the total number of funding agencies. These will commonly be found at the beginning of the article on the first page towards the bottom in an acknowledgments or notes section, or at the very end of the article between the conclusion and the tables and references sections. Here in this HTML version of this article, and because it's newer, we can come down here and find it here. But if you only have a PDF version available for an article, it's going to appear here on the bottom of the first page, or at the end before the references, or between the references and tables. It just depends on the style of the journal, so you'll have to learn each one as you start coding. So our first task is to find the total number of funding agencies. So if we come look at the acknowledgement section, we can see that there have been different government institutes that have awarded grants. They've also acknowledged support of universities, and then commonly there will also be acknowledgements of contributions by other people, but not of funding. So it'll take some discretion to realize what is actually funding the article and what are just acknowledgements for support. If we come look in this international article that we discussed earlier, this one has a notes section at the very end. So if we come here, we find that there's the Behavioral and Social Research Program of the National Institute of Aging. So even though the Behavioral and Social Research Program supported the article, it is part of the National Institute on Aging. So we only want to report this one. Our second source of funding is the Graduate School of Arts for Georgetown University. Same case here. We only care about Georgetown University, which is the hosting institution for the graduate school. And lastly, there is an international source of funding, the Chiang Ching-kuo Foundation. Some of these you may need to Google if they're not commonly found and you've seen them in other articles. So doing a Google search, we can find this international agency is a private non-profit foundation that funded this article. So for this article, we found a total of 3 funding sources. Then they also acknowledge computing support, which isn't funding, that's just help with the research, and then acknowledgement of personal contributions. So for this article, we would do 3 funding agencies. We have one federal, National Institute of Aging. We have a university, Georgetown University. And we have a private and international foundation. So federal, university, private, and international. So this would fall under a combination of federal funding and other funding. Now if we go back to the original article that we're coding, we can find that we have the National Institute of Mental Health, 5 awards for the National Institute of Mental Health. Actually more than that. 6. But they're all from the National Institute of Mental Health, which is one funding agency. And then we also have the University of Illinois and the Beckman Institute, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So this is part of the University of Illinois university system. It doesn't count as a separate private institute as it's part of the university. So here we only have 2 sources of funding. We have a federal agency, the National Institute of Mental Health, and the University of Illinois. So 2 funding agencies. So it's not federal funding only because we also have university funding. So it'll also be 5, combination of federal funding and other funding.